Hi everyone, it's good to see you again. If you don't know me, my name is Teresa and in this channel I do watercolor tutorials. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to paint this lavender field landscape. And these are all the materials that I'll be using for today's project. So let's get started. First, I will grab ultramarine diluted with a lot of water so that it is very light, and started to draw the outline of the house as you can see in the mini painting above. This is just like a guideline for me so that I know where the position of the house is, and then I can reserve the space for it. And you can use a pencil as well if you're not comfortable with the paint. And next we're going to apply the first layer for the whole painting. As you can see, I'm using ultramarine mixing with permanent rose so that I have the violet, and it depends on how much of each pigment you put into the mixture. It will have a different colors. So if you put more ultramarine, you will have like a bluish purple, but if you put more permanent rose, you will have some sort of lilac colors. It's more like reddish violet. Make sure that you use the brush to wet the area first before applying the color so that the color can be blended well with the paper. This is the wet on wet technique. And the first layer of the lavender area is done. I'll just leave it for now. We'll come back to it later. And next I'll be moving on to the greens. To paint the greens here, I will be use the mixture of three colors: lemon yellow, sap green, and ultramarine. I am applying lemon yellow as the base layer and dab in the sap greens here and there and just let them mix together on the paper. This is what we call mixing colors on the paper. And by using this technique, we're gonna have a different shade of greens, and it's gonna make our painting look more vibrant and colorful. And also please pay attention on to how I paint an illusion of a lot of trees here. I just kind of dab in a different weird and random shapes and put them together. So you don't actually go in and paint every single trees, but here it's just an illusion, and we use shapes and value, which is the lightness and darkness of the color, to create the illusion. And here I'm just kind of grabbing a very light pen to draw the outline of the rooftops behind the house. These houses are covered by trees, so the only thing we can see are the rooftops. So the rooftop is kind of simple and easy. It just lights and connects them together. And now I am going back to the lavender area using the same colors. So make sure if the paper is dry, you have to re-wet the paper again before applying the second layer. And here you also notice that I am applying the paint in the diagonal movement instead of horizontal or vertical. And the reason for this is after this layer is completely dry, we will go back and start painting a couple of more defined diagonal lines to form perspective for our lavender field. I hope that it makes sense, but don't worry, as I progress you will see it and eventually you will get what I'm talking about here. And now I am coming back to the greens and start adding more pigments using the same combination of colors in the beginning to build up the intensity. In case you don't have pre-made greens or you don't have a lot of pre-made greens in your palette, don't worry, you can make your own greens by using two primary colors, which is blue and yellow. And back to the lavender field, here you see that I'm starting to give the field a little bit of definition by drawing the diagonal lines, but at this point, since the paper is still damp, you see that the paint is spreading on the page, and I don't have the grips and defined lines here, but that's okay. We can always wait for it to be completely dry and come back and draw a more defined lines later. And now back to the greens. I am adding a darkest value which represent the shadows. And to mix the color, I am using ultramarine with sap greens, and you can also add a little bit burnt umbers to darken the greens, so you will have the darkest value. And just start dropping in some spots on the greens to represent shadows. Don't overdo it, otherwise it's gonna look too dark and heavy. And now I am going to paint the rooftop of the front house using the oranges brown, because I think orange and purple are complementary colors on the color wheel. So they're gonna complement each other and bring out a little bit of contrast for the painting. I also add a little bit of color for those rooftops in the back using the grayish tone. It is the muted color, so it's gonna give you a sense of space and distance as well. And here, this is what I was talking about earlier. We will start drawing diagonal lines for the lavender fields. As you can see at this point, my paper is completely dry, so now I am having more control over the paper, and my lines become more clean and more defined. And this is one point perspective, so you can see the light will be slender at the top and getting bigger at the bottom. And I also mix a very dark purple on my palette and start dropping here and there on the lavender field to represent shadow and also create some texture. You may also notice that I just drop in the pigments mostly on the right side of the lavender field, because I want that's gonna be where the shadow is, and on the left side I want to reserve it as light as possible to represent sunlight. And finally, I also splatter some paints on the lavender field to create texture. As you may know, that is my favorite techniques, and not only is creating texture, but it also adds some characters for the painting as well. And finally, I also add some more greens on the surrounding the rooftops in the back to make it a little bit fuller, and adding some pine trees so that it can have a little bit of variation in terms of shapes. At this stage, the painting is pretty much done. What I'm gonna do is just do some final touch-ups, like adding outline for the rooftop to make them a little more stand out, and also adding some lights on the rooftop as well to create texture. And that's it. I highly suggest that you also look back to your painting and see if there's any area that more contrast. Then you can always add more pigment and do some final touch-up and you're done. Okay, so the painting is completely done, but I also noticed that my paper is a little bit puckled since we use a lot of water. So one thing you can do is to place it inside a very big and heavy book, and then put on top another heavy book or any heavy things or object, and wait for a couple hours or overnight, and then your paper will be straightened. Alright guys, here's the complete look of the painting. I really enjoyed the lavender painting today, since lavender is one of my favorite flowers, and I hope that you enjoy it too. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you find this tutorial helpful, and don't forget to click subscribe because I will post a new video every Saturday. I also have tons of other tutorials, either landscape or floral paintings, on my channel as well. So in case you need more inspiration or ideas, don't forget to check them out in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!